Peter came very excited one morning. And we asked what the excitement was all about. And Peter said, guys, I've been invited for a breakfast meeting with Mr. Mandela. And with the same excitement, he left. When he came back, which was close to lunch hour, Peter straight went to his desk, picked some papers from there, and he was about to dash out when we said, hey, Peter, that's not the way to do things. You went and had breakfast with Mr. Mandela. You've got to tell us what the experience was like. Peter looked at us and still left the room without telling us anything. We became more curious. The following day when we reported for work, we converged around him and said, Peter, you've got to tell us. And Peter then said, guys, it was a very different experience. So Peter explained that when they arrived, the gates opened for the vehicle in which he was, together with the driver, to enter, and they found Mr. Mandela waiting by the entrance to his house. So Peter and Dumi, the driver, got out of the car, greeted the former head of state. And then Mr. Mandela said, come in for breakfast. In the typical corporate protocol, Dumi retreated to the car. Peter went inside. And just as they were about to sit, Mr. Mandela said to Peter, where is your colleague? And Peter said, no, sir, I came alone. Mr. Mandela insisted, said, Peter, I greeted two people outside. Peter then said, oh no, you mean Dumi? He is just a driver. Quietly, Mr. Mandela left the breakfast room, went outside, found Dumi sleeping by the steering wheel, knocked on the door, invited Peter to come for breakfast. They had the meeting. Peter debriefed on the progress we were making in the school construction. And when bidding farewell, Mr. Mandela walked with them up to the car. They got into the car and drove out. As soon as the gates closed, Dumi moved the car swiftly to the left side, stopped, came out of the car, went to the side where Peter was sitting, knelt down and said, Peter, thank you very much for asking the president to come and invite me for breakfast. And Peter said, oh, don't mention it. It was the least I could do. Peter said, I didn't even have the decency of not lying, that it wasn't me who asked the president. The president saw a human being who needed to join them for breakfast, and I could only see a driver. I have strong suspicion that leaders who transform systems, they cut through rank and file. They see humans who have different roles in the system. The fact that I clean the office doesn't make me any less important than the finance manager or leader you have. I matter to the system. And if you, as my boss, would make me feel that way, then I'm part of the delivery team.